Hi, this is Adam Blaylock, and you're listening to Adam the Movie Guy. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show. Warning, the show you're about to listen to contains strong language and an unhinged host. Don't take me too serious. I'm doing a bit here, so stay the fuck off my back. Enjoy. If this shocks you, if this offends you, and you clicked on the wrong fucking podcast. I'm back. Hey everybody, I'm back home from the States from my European vacation with the family, and I'm happy to report I had a hell of a good time with the people I love, and I'm back working on episodes. I'm gonna be more unhinged and manic than ever before, trying to get some more energy for these episodes, to really show my passion and get the juices flowing. I mean that in multiple ways.
I feel fantastic! I wanna fuck something!
So on this episode, I'm going to ramble a bit about my vacation, tell some funny, embarrassing stories, sound off some very inappropriate things about mermaids. You all know exactly what those thoughts are going to be about. Then after that, I get into some upcoming movie and TV show news I'm excited for. And finally, cap this all off with a micro review of the Clown in a Cornfield movie. So everybody make sure you're not playing this on speaker with civilized and mentally stable people around, since I am gonna say some wild shit. But you all knew that the second you hit play. I mean, fuck, you're just as crazy as I am if you listen to me on a regular basis, so there's already no hope for you. Now, let's fucking go. Hit it. Alright, getting into the first segment, talking a little bit about my vacation to Madeira with my family, which consisted of my oldest sister, my brother-in-law, aka the Boo, for those who know, his two sons and their wives, and of course, your lovable unhinged host, me, Adam. Now, I can ramble about how beautiful the island was, how amazing the food tasted, and how interesting the culture was. But yeah, fuck all that, because I don't have to tell you how great everything was. Just get off your ass and go experience it for yourselves. You won't be disappointed, trust me. I want to talk about two things in particular, since I love laughing and making fun of myself. So, first thing is being the fifth, or technically seventh wheel in this situation, in a group made me admittingly insecure and slightly sad since everybody had their own romantic partner. Meanwhile, I'm the lonely sack of shit by themselves. And I remember during dinner on the fifth night, if I'm not mistaken, everybody was talking to their partner while I'm sitting there smiling with that goofy-ass grin on my face because I am a goof, and the waiter comes over, right? He comes over by near me and puts down 8 glasses, and upon realizing his mistake, they made a comment saying they didn't know I was alone. Motherfucker. And I laughed it off. Meanwhile, throughout the whole dinner, that comment kept creeping up in the back of my mind. And while everybody's talking lovingly to their partners and I'm solo and quietly smiling, I'm thinking, fuck. I'm literally living the sad Ben Affleck meme right now.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, let me explain. The sad Ben Affleck meme comes from the interview he had while he was sitting next to Henry Cavill, talking about the bad reviews Batman vs. Superman was getting. And the whole time Henry Cavill is yapping it up with the interview guy, Ben Affleck has this sad, down look on his face while the camera is slowly zooming in on him and the song Hello Darkness, My Old Friend is playing. I was like fucking Joaquin Phoenix in the Joker movie.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking.
And I'm not gonna lie, I did feel somewhat isolated in that particular sense.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
And to make matters worse, I got into a bit of a kerfluffle with some bees during lunch the following day while we were all doing this really cool off-roading Jeep tour driven by this dude who looked like the result of Tarzan fucking Jason Momoa. So we're all sitting at the table at the restaurant waiting for the food, and I'm at the ass end of the table, and I'm chilling, I'm in a great mood when suddenly a motherfucking bee starts flying around me to my left. And for those of you who don't know, I am fucking terrified of bees. As far as I'm concerned, bees and wasps are the goddamn devil, okay? And I will lose my composure around bees completely and start freaking the fuck out, which is what I did. So the bees were flying around me and my whole body tightened up like fucking rigor mortis was setting in. And my asshole was so tight I could have crushed coal into diamonds. And if that wasn't enough, a second bee came around to my other side, so I was too scared to even move and breathe. My sister notices this, and through gritted teeth, I'm communicating with her the situation. And right when I think they're going to fly away and everything's going to be all cool, guess fucking what? They didn't. And the one on the left decided, hey, I'm going to torture this little fucker sitting here by flying down towards his leg under the table where he can't see me. And a few seconds after that he does so, I feel something on my leg. And this was the moment I started to really lose my composure. And I'm starting cursing through gritting teeth and just really fucking nervous about the whole situation. I'm just fucking scared shitless, okay? It was pure fear. Eventually, my brother-in-law basically said, fuck it, I can't take this guy being on the verge of shitting himself. So he gets up from his chair and smites that bee like he's the Lord Almighty himself, saving me from freaking the fuck out any further. And that's why he is the boo. Meanwhile, I am completely fucking embarrassed for looking like a melodramatic bozo.
Are you a melodramatic bozo?
And that, combined with the whole single thing still in the back of my mind, really made me feel kind of down and deflated for the rest of the day. And I was all up in my feelings about it and extra sensitive. So, for the rest of the day, I remember being really fucking quiet and talking very little, which, if there's one thing about me, is that whenever I'm embarrassed about something and or something's bothering me, I get real quiet since I don't want to draw attention to myself. And I'm gonna stew over it for at least the rest of the fucking day. Yeah, sure, I'll still respond and throw my 2 cents wherever I can to keep up appearances for conversations, but otherwise, I'm afraid I'll embarrass myself further, so I just think, keep your fucking mouth shut. Like that one great quote from the movie Inglourious Bastards.
Just keep your fucking mouth shut. In fact, why don't you start practicing right now?
So I felt really isolated and alone the rest of that day in particular.
Would you get out of here?
Which leads me to the final chapter of this segment, which is Mermaid Sex.
What in the blue hell do you think you're doing, you sick fake?
Come on, you all knew this was coming. And speaking of coming, let's get into this bizarre horny spiel. So it's the following morning after the bee kerfluffle. God, I love saying that word. And it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm waking up in my beautiful hotel resort room, and I open the blinds and walk up on my balcony looking at the beautiful scenery of the sun shining down on the water with waves crashing on the black volcanic rock. And it was just beautiful.
It's a beautiful morning.
And I was just imagining how amazing it would be for a mermaid to wash up on the beach like something out of a movie. And then that genuinely innocent thought goes from that to very quickly, I'd fuck the shit out of a mermaid.
You're gross. You make me sick to my algorithm.
And I immediately started thinking about how that would work with the whole human top and fish bottom situation, which is a really old question and joke, to which my solution / logic, and I use that word loosely, to that would be, well, I mean, fuck, they're supposed to be magical. So I picture this to be like a Splash movie or the TV show Siren situation where when they're on land, their tail transforms into human legs and, of course, the necessary other parts so you can get to ramen. To which I immediately picture in my head a ridiculous vision of me on top of some mermaid chick on the beach, and I'm plowing away like a fucking fish flopping on dry land. And I start laughing out loud on the balcony like a fucking nut job, with the resort employee cleaning the beach chairs just looking up at me like, what the fuck, man? And was probably thinking, great, this fucking crazy American is off his meds. But anyway, the thought of mermaid fucking more than likely came about since I was solo with no lady. I did toy with the idea of flirting with one of the resort employees who was really fucking cute, but two things kept me from doing that. Number one, she's an employee and I don't want to make things weird since I'm staying there, and it fails. And two, my short ugly ass wasn't pulling her regardless, let's be honest. I tell you, some people are blessed with the following: good looks, intelligence, wealth, and charisma. To which I say, I have none of those fucking things. Seriously, when I grow my hair out, I look like an oversized troll doll.
I am sorry, you are haunting. Your face is the stuff of nightmares. You will die alone.
But enough about me being pathetic, since I'm sure everybody gathered that within seconds of listening to this.
You will die alone. Ideally. For others' sake.
That'll do.
So, the big takeaways from this segment is the following. Number one, I had an amazing trip with my family. Number two, fuck bees. And three, being the only one single on a trip with a group really makes one self-conscious, especially me. So that's all for this segment. Let's get into the next one. Alright, getting into some movie and TV news. The new Final Destination Bloodlines movie came out recently and I have yet to see it, although I am very excited to see it since I'm a big fan of the series and I've seen every single one of them with my sister Ashley, her favorite being Final Destination 3, aka the roller coaster one, and mine being Final Destination 5, the bridge one, which was also the one that previously came out in theaters. Now, this movie is a long time in the making since the last film in the series came out in 2011, and I saw that in theaters with my mom, and to this day, I am still blown the fuck away at that movie's twist. It was just fucking great, and it still hits. It also has some of the most suspenseful set pieces for the deaths, and it scares me off doing any more laser procedures for my eyes because of what happened to the nearsighted chick with the big tits in Part 5. The new Final Destination synopsis is actually very interesting, being partially a prequel to the entire series that explains how each film's tragic events started. It all is traced back here with the main protagonist's family being targeted by death since her grandmother survived a tragic disaster at a Sky Needle dinner by having a vision of what was going to happen, and she saved a lot of people with a big interesting hook of the movie being every single person she saved, along with herself, were supposed to die, and they're directly connected by blood to every single protagonist in the entire franchise. I'm talking all the way 1 through 5, which is a huge revelation and explains why those movies' tragic events happened in the first place. Holy fuck, that is brilliant, and it actually justifies the movie's title of Bloodlines, since titles like that are like a dime a dozen in the horror franchises and, the horror genre, shit like that. I get annoyed and I roll my eyes typically whenever horror films include blood in the title, especially if it's a sequel, since it's like one of the laziest fucking things you could do. But it is what it is. At least for this film, apparently it's justified for the movie. The last thing I'm excited and somewhat sad about is that this is the last film the great Tony Todd, aka the Candyman, made, and everyone is saying his last lines in the movie were basically Tony Todd acknowledging he was dying in real life and he was practically speaking to the audience, and many people online were saying it made them cry. Now, I'm a huge, soft, sensitive, sentimental son of a bitch, so I know I'm gonna cry as well. So, overall, I'm very excited to see the movie, and once I do, I'll give you all my thoughts on it. Next is I Know What You Did Last Summer, the fourth movie in the franchise, although a lot of people would think it's a reboot or a remake because this movie is jumping on that fucking bandwagon of having the same exact title of the original movie, even though it's a direct sequel to the first fucking two films. Examples being Halloween 2018, Scream 5 just being titled Scream, Candyman 4 just being titled Candyman, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 movie that is like the fourth goddamn sequel to ignore the events of the other sequels. The continuity of that series was fucked so goddamn hard, it still can't walk a straight line. But back to I Know What You Did Last Summer 4. Although, as far as I know, it ignores the fucking trash that was the third movie, which was called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which was its own separate thing that had fuck all to do with the first movies or its characters, and even makes the killer supernatural. What the actual fuck? Okay, I'm alright if a horror film series that was previously air finger quote realistic, well, I use the term realistic loosely, that's why I was doing the fucking, air finger quotes. You guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm doing that right now. But anyway, I'm okay if a horror film series goes supernatural if it's done well enough. But holy shit on a sandwich. They seriously need to have their fucking heads examined for what they gave us in that third movie. And I thought I was fucking brain dead. But I want to stop talking about the third film since it's just raising my already high blood pressure and shortening what's probably going to be a relatively short life anyway.
You will die alone. Ideally. For others' sake.
That'll do.
As far as the new cast goes, they look alright. I never seen or heard about any one of them. But the main blonde chick looks pretty hot, so that's nice. Although, she's no Jennifer Love Hewitt, who, speaking of which, makes a return to the series as Julie once again, along with Freddie Prinze Jr. coming back as Ray. Freddie Prinze Jr. looks really fucking old now, but at least he's rocking it. And as for Jennifer Love Huge Tits, Hewitt, she is still fucking fine as ever. She was giving off real MILF energy, okay? I think Chris Tucker from the movie Friday said it best. Damn! I knocked the dust off of that pussy. Yeah, that's right. Everybody listening would too, whether you're gay, straight, male, female, or that beautiful rainbow in between. We all would absolutely take a shot at Jennifer Love Hewitt. And if you're saying no, you're fucking lying to yourself. Come on now. It's okay. Own it. Big Daddy Adam doesn't judge.
Please don't call yourself daddy.
I only speak the truth, Julius. Well, at least a heavily skewered, insane, coked-up version of it. I mean, come on. Look up Jennifer Love Hewitt from I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997 to Heartbreakers, 2002. Holy fucking shit. That scene at the end of the original I Know What You Did Last Summer when she's rocking nothing but a bath towel and talking to Ray on the phone, she is about to burst out of that towel with her gigantic tits, okay? She just had me like...
I would drink her milk unpasteurized. Is that what you wanted to hear?
So the person in charge of wardrobe for that film, just fucking applause to you, sir or madam. Anyway, overall, I'm at least excited to see what new shit they may have in store for us when the film comes out this July. And I pray it's not a complete retread of the original movie. Next is Megan 2 or Megan 2.0. I saw the first film with my oldest sister Sue in theaters and I liked it a lot. And the first was somewhat of a horror sci-fi comedy mix. And this new one is pivoting genres to turn into an action espionage type movie with Megan now being the hero, which honestly is fucking brilliant. And I'm so glad they're not doing the same exact thing the first film did. They're taking what I like to call the James Cameron sequel approach, where part one is a lot closer to horror and the second one is a lot more action oriented. Like what James Cameron did for both Terminator 2 and Aliens, the sequel to Ridley Scott's Alien. I love it when sequels change genres, especially when it's done well, and I'm very excited for this movie. Last in movie news is the Toxic Avenger reboot starring Peter Dinklage as the new Toxie. Now, I fucking love the original Toxic Avenger film. It is so over the top, ridiculous, offensive. It's fucking art, and I'll argue with anyone that says otherwise. I could suck that movie off like an OnlyFans model having a 30% off special. But back to this new one. It has been in development hell for years and was completed back in 2022, but had a lot of trouble finding distribution because of its content. Well, I hate that it has taken forever to get a release date. I love that is the reason why, since I don't want them to hold back in terms of content, specifically the violence and nudity. Now, I know they more than likely will hold back on sexual and racist stereotypes, which I'm fine with. I don't need that in the movie, although I'd be lying if I said it would personally bother me if they included it, since, I could take a fucking joke even if it's a shitty one, but it's whatever. For the Toxic Avenger, it should include the bare minimum, the following, essentially. Graphic over-the-top violence, insane caricatures for characters, silly dialogue, gratuitous nudity, preferably topless females for me, but hey, everybody should get in the action to keep it fair. And at last but not least, some satire elements. That's what made the OG Toxic Avenger so great. As for this new one, I'm seeing more and more clips being released, and I gotta say, I really like what I'm seeing. I was skeptical at first with Peter Dinklage casting, since Toxie is supposed to be 6'4" tall. Meanwhile, no disrespect intended, Peter Dinklage is less than 5 feet tall. So I was kind of puzzled at the choice. And I'm not talking shit since I'm literally 5'3", so I really can't talk about anyone being short. But upon seeing the footage of the new Toxie in action, I said, okay, they're making it work. The Toxic Avenger comes out on August 30th, my birthday, so that will be one hell of a treat to have, and I'm very excited. Now it's time to pivot from film news to television news. First up, Netflix's Season 2 of Wednesday, which I'm really pumped up for and can't wait to see. Hell, I'm practically pitching a 10 over it. Well, to be fair, Jenny Ortega has that effect on people. Just listen to this dialogue from the movie X when her character Lorraine wants to be in the porn film that her crew is making and not just be on the sidelines working the equipment.
They're coming to see tits and ass. And a big dick.
Jesus, I'm gonna need a smoke after hearing that. God damn. Anyway, back to Wednesday. It's been like 3 damn years since the last season, which, honestly, Netflix does have problems with the gap between seasons for their shows. I mean, just look at Stranger Things, which I'll get to next, but quick sidebar on that. I am going to be dead and reduced to fucking ash by the time that show is finished. It feels like it's been that long since season 4, which, also like Wednesday, released 3 years ago, funny enough. Now, back to Wednesday. I loved the first season, and my favorite thing about the show is the friendship between Wednesday and Enid, since I love polar opposite friend pairings. Wednesday is all dark and morbid, while Enid is just pure sunshine and so goddamn sweet. I swear to God, she's giving me diabetes every time she's on screen, and I mean that in the best way possible.
Can't take it. It's too cute. It's disgusting.
3 things I want for this new season is, 1, more emphasis on horror, even more of Wednesday and Enid's friendship dynamics for number 2, and number 3, I need to see more of the Addams Family extended family members, because 2 big members weren't in the first season. One of them being Grandmama, who the only hint of was during a flashback Wednesday had on a childhood birthday. On Wednesday's cake, there were figurines of the family, which included Grandmama, so I hope the implication isn't that she's now deceased, because that'd be a real fucking bummer, to be honest, if that is the case. And the second Addams Family member I have to see in this new season is the man, the myth, the motherfucking legend himself, Cousin It. I'll never forget in the Addams Family movie from the 90s when the Addams are throwing a huge welcome home party for Uncle Fester and all their extended family members are there, and Cousin It pulls up to the place like the high roller he is, and he immediately steals the scene when he's talking to Lurch, Gomez, and Morticia.
It, old man!
You're right, far too long.
And the best part is, the scene isn't the only thing he's stealing, since Cousin It literally steals the wife of one of the main villains of the movie, and she ends up joining the family, and they show up in the sequel together with a baby called What? The spitting image of Cousin It, all hair and everything. But I realize why the movies and TV show had to have Cousin It in small doses, and it's the reason I've been saying. He steals the show every single time he's on screen. I just pray that he shows up in one episode for season 2 of Wednesday, even if it's just for one scene. Now, very quick about Stranger Things Season 5, the final season. After the absolutely crazy shit that happened in the previous season, with the villain Vecna being still at large, Max being broken, blind, and her mind seemingly lost in the hospital bed with no clear recovery, if she will at all, and the town absolutely being destroyed, I have no idea what the fuck is gonna happen with the final season, which has me stoked. I don't know who's gonna live, who's gonna die, and it's giving me real Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie poster tagline vibes, which was the following: who will survive and what will be left of them? One of the greatest film taglines ever. One thing that is slightly weird to me is that I was really expecting more of a time jump, primarily due to all the actors aging, specifically the younger actors, the main party. So the last season took place in the spring of '86, and the characters were about 15, and this final season is said to be taking place 1 year later in the fall of 1987, and the younger primary characters are now about 16-ish. That feels weird to me since it's been 3 damn years since the last season, so at that point, why not just set it in the year 1989? The final year of the decade where all the nostalgia is from, which would have been more poetic since this is also the last season of the show. It would at least fit better since the characters are played by actors that are now in their early 20s. But aside from that small nitpick, I'm very excited to see how they're going to end this legendary show, and I pray to God they don't shit the bed like Game of Thrones did with their last season. Holy fuck, I'm still shocked at how that happened. Last in TV news is the upcoming Alien Earth TV show, which is finally bringing the xenomorph to the small screen on television, which I'm completely ecstatic about, despite knowing absolutely fuck all about the show's storyline itself. And you know what? That's the way I want it. We all know that it's recycling the original idea from Alien 3 by putting the xenomorphs on Earth. And yes, I know the Alien vs. Predator films did that first technically, but those are the crossovers that could have been and should have been so much better. But I digress. And the other interesting fact about the timeline of this show is that it takes place exactly 2 years before the original Alien movie is set. So, very interesting stuff, and I bet they're going to tie that into the OG movie somehow to set things up for the events of that film. Anyway, Alien Earth comes to Hulu streaming on August 12th, so save the date and remember, on Earth, everyone can hear you scream. Alright, and now on to the final segment of the show, where I give my thoughts on the Clown in a Cornfield movie, which was adapted from a YA horror book by Adam Cesar. Or is it Caesar? I'm gonna go with Caesar. Here is the preview for the film. Take a listen to it.
It's time to sweeten the day with the marvel of Bay Pen Bran corn syrup. That's right, a little drop of Bay Pen makes everything better. Just take it from Friendo.
Hey, check it out, it's Friendo!
Everyone's favorite clown. Now, tell me, folks, are you a friend to Friendo? I know I am.
What the fuck?
We're gonna die.
And remember, kids,
Never fuck with friendo.
Here we go, Clown in a Cornfield, directed by Eli Craig, who also directed Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, a great horror comedy film, and the Netflix comedy horror film Little Evil, which is basically a parody of The Omen. The film stars the beautiful Katie Douglas as Quinn Maybrook, our main girl, Aaron Abrams as Dr. Maybrook, Quinn's dad, Carson McCormick as Cole Hill, Vincent Muller as Rust Vance, Kevin Durand as Cole's dad, and Verity Marks as Ronnie, Alex Martin as Matt, Ao Solanke as Tucker, Cassandra Potenza as Janet, Will Sasso as Sheriff Dunn, and finally Bradley Sawatsky as Mr. Vern. Now, the film's synopsis, which I got from IMDb and Bloody Disgusting, reads as followed. Quinn Maybrook and her father have moved to the tiny, boring town of Kettle Springs to find a fresh start. What they don't know is that ever since the Bay Pen corn syrup factory shut down, Kettle Springs has cracked in half. On one side are the adults, who are desperate to make Kettle Springs great again, and on the other are the kids. These kids want to have fun, make prank videos, and get out as quickly as they can. Kettle Springs is caught in a battle between old and new, tradition and progress. It's a fight that looks like it will destroy the town, until Friendo, the Bay Pen mascot, a creepy clown, goes homicidal and decides that the only way for Kettle Springs to grow back is to cull the rotten crop of kids who live there now. Now, before I dive into the movie, I want to say that there will be spoilers for both the film and the book. So if you don't want the movie or book spoiled, skip this segment because I don't want to hear any crybaby butthurt bitching in the comments because of it. Got it? Good. Let's go. Now, the film starts off very differently from the book in the opening segment, which in the book concerned the death of Cole's sister, which his father blamed him for. In the movie, it starts off in the 90s at a barn party where a teenage couple gets murdered by Friendo, the clown, the mass killer and mascot of the town. Honestly, while I liked the opening, I would have preferred they kept the scene of Cole's sister's death, since it pretty much was the final straw that led to Cole's father, Mr. Hill, enacting the events of the film. Or at the very least, they should have shown a flashback of her death later on in the movie instead of verbally telling it, which didn't sit right with me since it was an important event, which led to the domino effect of a series of events that's vital to the story. The main high school kids are all likable, and side note, I use the term kids loosely since they're all played by actors in their early to mid-20s, something I always chuckle about when it's obvious for film and TV. I can watch a high school set movie or show, and when I see an actor or actress that is so blatantly obviously older than high school age range, it always makes me laugh. Perfect examples being any high school drama from the late 90s to today in film or TV. Like that fucking show, Euphoria, which, funny enough, I never actually watched. All I've seen of that show are clips people upload on social media, and majority of them are Sydney Sweeney's clips. I'll give you two big guesses why. And from the way all the characters look, act, and dress, ain't no fucking way they are believable as high school age students. I saw one clip in particular that had me laughing like a fucking hyena at how silly it was when it comes to that aspect of casting actors and actresses that could at least be somewhat believable as high school age range, and they failed miserably at that. Also, if you're a fan of the show, to be clear, I'm not shitting on it. I know absolutely fucking nothing about the show, other than the fact that Sydney Sweeney has a lot of topless scenes, which is the extent of my knowledge of it, and quite frankly, the only thing that actually gets my attention in regards of the show.
At first you had my curiosity, but now you have my erection.
You mean your attention?
You all know what I'm about.
I would drink her milk unpasteurized. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Back to Clown in a Cornfield, in regards to the plot and how the film goes into adapting the twist of the book with, spoiler alert, the big twist is that there are multiple friendos and it's all a part of a big conspiracy by the town's adults led by both Sheriff Dunn and Arthur Hill, Cole's father, to kill off what they perceive as the bad seeds of the town and get the fresh start they desperately want for the town. The film does a solid job of adapting that aspect of the book. However, they definitely scale back the extent of the conspiracy since it felt much larger in the book with even more adults involved compared to the smaller group of the adults in the film. And Sheriff Dunn's character got a lot of his shit cut out of the movie that existed in the book, which I really wish they kept in. Particularly his whole motive rant and revelation of the plot in the chapter of the book when he's driving with Cole in handcuffs in the backseat of the SWAT car after the gang gets stopped by the sheriff after escaping the clowns in the field. The movie just has the sheriff arrest Cole and we see him drive away with him, and then next we see of Cole, he's captured and strung up with a noose around his neck, with Quinn also captured to witness the stage execution, and Cole's dad, Arthur, is the one that gets the whole motive speech. Also, side note, during that scene, when the sheriff repeatedly shocks Quinn with a cattle prod, that shit had me getting pissed and saying to myself, "You leave her alone, you big pedo mustache piece of shit." It was so fucking satisfying when Quinn got the jump on the sheriff later and takes that fucking cattle prod and shoves it down his goddamn throat, lighting this motherfucker up like a Christmas tree and delivering the iconic line she had in the book, "I'm not your fucking sweetheart." That shit had me like, Another change I noticed which made me say, what the fuck, why? They changed the character of Janet's race from Asian to blonde white girl, which made me feel like they wanted to go more stereotypical high school mean girl. Now, let me be clear, as someone who personally absolutely loves blonde women, since they're definitely my favorite type, I do not like this change. Now hear me out, guys, hear me out. There actually is a legit reason for this. The reason is, in the book, there was a very subtle racial subtext of not just Janet being Asian, but specifically her mother, who was the only Asian woman in the whole town, which had a very low-key racist subtext with the unfortunate implications that some of the townsfolk think in regards to her, saying Janet's dad is so lucky, with the framing being centered on Janet's mother's race in a very eyebrow-raising manner, which leans a bit on the whole fetishized Asian wife trope. By making Jen a blonde white girl, they not only took that interesting subtext out with the mom, but Janet, who is not an Asian stereotype at all in the book, and had so many layers to her, being the most popular girl in school, beautiful, and having some of the most interesting hidden heart of gold moments in the book with some of her inner thoughts. Now, don't get me wrong, the actress that plays Janet did a fine job, and she even has the funniest shared line in the entire movie, which I'll touch on later. One other aspect that I noticed was changed in regards to the tone of the film versus the tone of the book was the movie was leaning more on the comedic side of things in comparison to the book that played everything seriously. And to be honest, while both tones fit the story well, I prefer the more comedic take the film had, especially when it came to certain moments in the movie. One example being the decapitated head bit that kicked off the slaughter in the later half of the film, where the gang, except for Quinn, thinks this head is a fake prop and start laughing and tossing it back and forth to each other, fucking around, until Quinn feels the body and lets everyone know this shit is real. And then they proceed to freak the absolute fuck out. That was great. Another joke is them running to the neighbor's farmhouse to call the police, and they get inside to use the landline phone, and since it's a rotary phone, they have no fucking idea how to use it, which had me laughing pretty good, and also made me feel old as fuck. But my favorite comedic bit in the entire movie is Janet's death scene, where they're attacked by one of the friendo clowns in the house, and Janet gets her shit wrecked with a pitchfork where she's impaled, lifted into the air, and slammed into the fucking ceiling, and not just any part of the ceiling, into the goddamn lights, which also electrocutes her, and she's flopped to the ground like a sack of potatoes with the pitchfork still inside her chest, and she's still alive, keep this in mind. Then Quinn proceeds to pull out the pitchfork out of her to stab the other friendo clown, where the clown lands next to Janet on the ground, dying along with her, and Janet's last words before dying is, "I hate you, Quinn." And the icing on the cake, the dying friendo clown next to her says, "Me too," and they both die at the same time. That was fucking brilliant. So in regards to the tone and comedic elements added from the source material, I gotta give them points for going in that direction, since it was really fun. Next up is Quinn's dad, who was casted perfectly with fucking handsome McGee Aaron Abrams over here, bringing in some pure DILF energy for the ladies and gay guys, so honestly, you know what? Good for him. One aspect I do wish they leaned into more about the character of Dr. Maybrook was the fact that he had a mental and emotional breakdown after his wife died, since she was an addict to, I think, painkillers or some shit like that after an injury, and she died pretty publicly if I'm not mistaken. And since he's an ER doctor who had to see gruesome shit in Philly every single day, it was too much for him, and the poor guy had a break, and his daughter, Quinn, had to take care of him until he just got well enough to move them both to the town of Kettle Springs. They have a small moment early in the film where Quinn comes downstairs to leave for school on her first day, and her dad looks completely mentally checked out or lost, and she seemed concerned about him until he gets his wits back. That was great, and I wanted more of that, since it does provide some genuine emotion for the characters, even if it's a quick, more subdued moment. He also gets his great escape from the friendos when captured and forced to keep the one who gets his hand blown off by Rusty's shotgun alive. Him killing the friendo guarding him was a great moment, and he even tries to save his life by telling him to not pull the knife out he just used to stab him in the neck, to hilarious and expected results. Next two characters I want to talk about are Rusty and Cole. Cole first, since he's a pivotal character, being from the family that founded the town of Kettle Springs and created Friendo the clown mascot. Cole is a prankster and YouTuber with a main group of friends making killer Friendo videos, which was really fun to see in the movie. And my only issue is the whole tragedy of his sister dying and his father holding him responsible despite genuinely not being his fault. It felt almost like an afterthought, when in the book it's giving a lot more weight than it should had. The other thing is the whole burning down the family factory situation was where in the movie it was said his father burned down the factory to get the insurance money, and he gaslighted and blamed Cole for it, when in the book I could have sworn it was implied to have really been him that burned down the factory in a lapse of judgment or in grief over the loss of his sister or some shit like that. Another aspect I have to address is one of the twists in the movie and in the book in regards to Cole and Rusty's relationship. Spoiler alert, everyone. It is revealed that they are both gay and have feelings for one another, which definitely explains so many moments and allusions to Cole being perceived as stringing multiple girls around, according to Janet. There's one pretty hot scene in the movie he shares with Quinn that I want to talk about when I talk about her character. The revelation of Cole and Rusty being gay and their mutual feelings for one another was another great comedic moment when the main gang, including Cole and Rusty, are hiding from the attacking friendos in a barn in the cornfield when they have an argument which very quickly turns into a lover's quarrel, and all the girls watching at the same exact time realize the nature of their relationship and sexuality, and all of them say, "Oh," in unison. That had the whole theater, myself included, laughing. And as for Rusty, he was okay in the movie, but to be honest, I didn't get enough of his character in comparison to the book, where he felt more prominent. Hopefully, if they adapt the sequel, that film remedies that. Next, on to both Sheriff Dunn and Arthur Hill, the main villains of the entire movie and leaders of the gang of killer friendo clowns. Sheriff Dunn was played perfectly by Will Sasso. The sheriff is a condescending, standoffish blowhard who I could tell loves the sound of his own fucking voice. My problem is the movie cut out way too much of his shit that was in the book, okay? Hell, they cut out the whole town meeting that was in the book for the movie, which I partly do understand the reason why. It tips off the whole conspiracy thing much earlier in the story, so I understand the reason why they cut it, but part of me still wishes they kept it in, since it was a great moment in the book and it ended with the death of the mayor of the town. And as I said earlier, I wish they didn't cut out his whole scene he shared with Cole when the sheriff is revealing everything and giving his motive rant on why they're doing this. I was kind of disappointed they cut that out of the movie. Next on to Arthur Hill, played by the great Kevin Durand. He played the character very well and definitely gives off terrible father energy right off the fucking bat when we first see him in the movie. One thing that was a weird change that was in the movie when he, along with Sheriff and the Friendo gang, have Quinn and Cole captured, he's wearing a clown costume and makeup as if his character was overjoyed by this and was having a blast, where in the book, he was all business and completely cold-blooded about the plan and whole situation in general. Also, something was cut out from the book with his character, which would be the ending. In the movie, he just drives away, leaving Cole to hang from the noose. That's the last we see of his character, where he's just out in the world somewhere, compared to in the book, he gets shot and escapes, leaving the country on a private plane he got with a duffel bag full of cash, and he proceeds to kill the pilot who recognizes him being a wanted man. I was kind of hoping there would have been a post-credit scene of that, but that's okay since his fate was at least still left open for a sequel. Now, the last character I want to talk about and the best is my girl Quinn. Played by Katie Douglas, and let me just say right off the bat, she is fucking hot. She got real Mikey Madison vibes with the dark hair, tough but sweet short girl vibes, and she was the heart of the film for me. Quinn is clearly still reeling from the death of her mother hanging over her while taking care of her father, and leaving her home of Philly to be just in some dead-end ass town without any of her old friends. She, throughout the film, shows, despite displaying emotional vulnerability, she's very strong and will still step up to plate to kick some clown ass when necessary. She was very likable and endearing from the moment she started in the film throughout the whole runtime, and felt like a very human and layered character even with a very short film runtime, since the film goes at a pretty good pace. My favorite 3 scenes of hers in the movie are as followed in ascending order. Number 3, the scene that was shown in the previews for the movie with the gag of one girl covering the other's mouth while hiding from friendos in the cornfield, and Quinn, being the last in the line, has her mouth covered by a friendo in both a spooky and funny moment, and in the actual movie itself, her response is to grab the nearest rock on the ground and smash that fucker in the face with it. Number 2, the scene when she kills Sheriff Dunn with the cattle prod down the throat and delivers her one-liner. Fucking great, and he fucking deserved it, especially after he kept electrocuting her when she was tied up like the big bullying dickhead he is. And number 1, in the scene I alluded to earlier when talking about Cole, the barn scene, where they're alone in the barn and they start going at it, with Quinn being the one that's taking charge physically, and she gets all over him, straddling him and kissing him, with Cole asking her to be the one to slow down. It's really fucking hot, and despite knowing Cole is gay, or at least bisexual, when he essentially ruins the moment by repeatedly telling her to slow down, I couldn't help but think, my God, man, what the fuck are you doing? You're blowing it right now. Come on. If I was in Cole's shoes and had Quinn in that fucking barn with me, you better believe I'm blowing her fucking back out while the animals are watching. Hell, I'm the one that's gonna be doing the howling right as I climax like the fucking Wolfman, recreating that one scene in the Spartacus TV show where the gladiator is fucking that one chick in the ass in the middle of a party and he howls when finishing. It would sound something like this. Now that I got that out of my system, and I mean that in more ways than one, the last thing I want to mention is how the film ends with setting up her character for a potential sequel, with her going off to college and as a retractable self-defense baton as a going-away present from her dad, Rusty and Cole, which is something she owns in the second book in the series titled Friendo Lives. I really hope we get a sequel to this since I actually love that book even more than the first. Now, onto the kills very quickly, which are overall were fast and furious when happening. But the two that truly stood out were Janet's death as well as Sheriff Dunn's. But they were all bloody and violent, which I was very happy with. Now to get to my overall thoughts and rating of the movie. I'll be using the 5-star system, in this case, Friendo the Clowns, with 0 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. I personally really liked the film despite the flaws in regards to cutting out a lot of the book that I wish they kept in, but ultimately the film serves as a very good abridged version of the book, and that is why Clown in a Cornfield earns 3 Friendo the Clowns out of 5. It's a very solid movie that with some hope, a sequel can iron out all the rougher edges the first film has, which is what a sequel should do. Well, guys, this is the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed the roller coaster insanity of this one with me going from one extreme to another, and I hope I got at least one laugh out of you. Or hell, I'll even settle for a chuckle. Stay tuned because I'm going to begin working on the Jaws 50th anniversary special, which I hope to get out sometime in July, where I talk about the film and the book and compare the two of them. And I'm going to go deep, guys, okay? And when I say deep, I mean I'm going to rearrange the movie and book's guts like I would with Quinn from Clown in a Cornfield. This has been Adam the Movie Guy, and I'll see you next episode. God damn, it's good to be back. Daddy's home, motherfuckers.